Am I live? I am live. Oh, it says I've been live for 2 minutes. Is that true? Who knows? I wanted to hop on here. I thought we would have some fun because I have, is this the latest? Yeah, the June 5th issue of Women's World magazine. If you are not familiar with this magazine, it should be one of your huge sources of inspiration for some hard hitting copy. I'm going to hold it up. And I don't think it's backwards on the screen, which sometimes happens when you film. So I will just break down this cover, maybe a little bit of what's going on inside, and give you some stuff, strategies, tactics that you can take from it and deploy for your own worthwhile purposes. So one thing we tend to do as copywriters when we look at copy is like start reading it like as how we wouldn't normally read it if we were just a regular human looking at it. So if you were a regular human in your regular human skin at the supermarket checking out, and you saw this busy magazine cover in front of you, what would you look at first? What would catch your eye first? You know, probably this big chunky stuff right in the middle. So let's look there first. The anti-acid secret to easy fat loss. Now, let me make this one point about compliance and Women's World magazine in particular. This cover actually seems pretty good from a compliance standpoint, but they do have covers and headlines where they say things you might not be able to say from a compliance perspective. And that could be because Facebook, doesn't allow crazy, bombastic claims. It could be because your platform, like ClickBank or whatever, really requires any claims to be substantiated really, really well. All of that said, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know their legal team. I don't know how they skirt or deal with compliance issues on their end. So other than saying you have to be aware of compliance, just keep that in mind. But I'm not gonna critique these from a compliance standpoint, but from an effective copywriting standpoint. So compliance aside, anti-acid secret to easy fat loss. Of course, easy fat loss. Who doesn't want that? It's very appealing. Use of the word secret is compelling. We want to know what the secret is. And the antacid part almost makes it sound like you're killing two birds with one stone, or that, because there are a lot of antacid over-the-counter supplements and medications you could take. So it also suggests that perhaps by using one of those, you might be able to achieve easy fat loss. And they know their market very, very well. And so it wouldn't surprise me if their research has shown them that their market struggles with, acid and needing help for antacid stuff. And so connecting that to the very appealing benefit of easy fat loss makes a lot of sense for them, right? And of course, this comes from Dr. David Perlmutter. So you have the authority and the credentialization from a doctor. And there he is. He kind of looks like a trustworthy guy. What do you think? You got him in the white lab coat. He's holding a file folder. Looks very authoritative. So, of course, having a doctor spokesperson is helpful whenever you can leverage that. And then right underneath, we get the result. Drop 30 pounds in 14 days. this, again, this isn't a compliance review, but this is the type of line you're probably going to have trouble using in a lot of different places, but Women's World, for whatever reason, is able to do it. So however much you can use specific outcomes in specific durations, you want to be doing that as often as possible. And here they do it blanket wide across the board, almost suggesting that anyone can drop 30 pounds in 14 days, but things that might be easier for you to do are to share one person's specific story, be that your own, be that a customer's. So you might be able to change that to how Sally dropped 30 pounds in 14 days. You can also use other benefits that might be easier to get away with from a compliance standpoint than pounds lost. So could be pants fitting looser, had to throw out the size 10 pants in 14 days or in any other time frame. Let's go to this little subheadline underneath it, because I think there's a really powerful takeaway here that anybody can use. And it says, discover the everyday foods that mimic Ozempic in the way they lower your body's uric acid levels, lose weight 557% faster. So what are they doing here? Ozempic, very, very topical, on front of mind to a lot of folks who want to be losing weight. It's been covered in the news. It's wildly popular in all media outlets, social media and traditional media. There are stories of so many different celebrities using Ozempic, and it's being shared as this miracle weight loss drug. So they're tapping into the timeliness and the immediacy and the attention we're already paying to Ozempic, and they're using it to say everyday foods that mimic it. So what is that indicating? You can get the power of Ozempic with everyday foods. Everyday foods is pretty good, right? It's immediate, but I do think and they have a constraint in the amount of words they could put in there, but I think there's an opportunity to get even more specific than everyday foods. You could say what's in your kitchen, or what you eat daily, or one tweak to what you already eat for breakfast, something like that. So that would be a place where I would have, if this was one of my cubs, let's say, run a specificity filter on that and give me 10 different ways you might be more specific and mysterious at the same time than everyday foods. Which brings me to a larger point. One of the things I love about copy is how you actually achieve specificity and mystery at the same time. And that might seem counterintuitive, because specificity might seem like the opposite of mystery. But when done correctly, you actually get more mysterious by being more specific. So when you say something like what you already eat for breakfast, that's more specific than everyday foods, right? But it's also more mysterious, because you're like, what is it? What is it from what I already eat for breakfast every day? So there's an opportunity, and there's also something they're doing really well by saying they mimic Ozempic. And again, they're sort of using this like lowering uric acid, antacid secret as their mechanism, right? This is the way that they're sharing how you can achieve this easy fat loss, right? By some sort of relation to acid, uric acid in the body. And the incredibly large number of losing weight, 557% faster. So speed and immediacy to results is another benefit that they're sharing, right? So up in the main headline, you have the ease. Who doesn't want ease? And who doesn't want speed? So they cover the speed part over here. So These are different categories that I want you to iterate on and think about for everything that you write, right? So how is it easy and how is it fast? And because time is money. So anytime we're saving time, that is a really big, easy to communicate benefit that some people forget to share. Sometimes we take that for granted. So always think of immediacy in your writing. Then where does my eye go next? My eye next goes kind of over here to diabetes risk in yellow. So of course, we don't want diabetes risks in our lives, right? So we got to look at that. So it says / afternoon tiredness and diabetes risk. So you're kind of getting this like another like 2-for-1. So we got the 2-for-1 with antacid and fat loss, and we got a 2-for-1 with slashing tiredness and slashing your diabetes risk. So we could see that as a trend, as something they're accomplishing a lot here. Like, yeah, everything is extra bang for your buck, right? Everything is a 2-for-1. And then, ironically, my eye goes up to a little pre-head that introduces this part, which I will read to you. It says, news from the UK. Just reheat food this way to / afternoon tiredness and diabetes risk. So again, that is a really like nice specificity. They accomplished here what they did not super accomplish with everyday foods, right? Because now there's so much specificity, reheat food. This has to do with how you reheat food, but the mystery is there because you don't know exactly the way you're supposed to reheat food to achieve this outcome. Of course, saying that it's news from the UK, there's some specificity to where it's coming from, but there's also this sort of foreign element, like the people in the UK know something we don't. And that is something you could often tap into in ways you wouldn't expect. You know, what other parts of the world like know this secret, right? Or what other parts of the world are doing something differently than the way we do it, so that information, it's like right there, it's in the ether, but it's also across the globe. And you, as the writer who is preparing this information, is going to deliver this information from across the world over to us. So that's pretty neat. And then you get blood sugar miracle kind of just randomly blurted there. Then my eye comes up to snore ender. Snore ender, which is, love that 2-word powerful phrase that suggests a powerful and permanent change. That word ender is really, really good. That could be like a prompt you keep in your back pocket. Try it for anything. Like, try it especially when you don't think there's a match. Because when you use the stuff that I teach and the prompts that I give, and it seems like you're like, it's not relevant, my product doesn't end anything. When you push yourself a little bit in those directions, that's where the magic comes from. That's when you create something unexpected that has your clients or your audience or your customers like, ooh, that's really good, you know? So try it for yourself, for your products, for your clients. Blank ender. What are 10 different things you might put there? I really love ender. And then the before bed vanilla tip for your best sleep ever. So here we're getting all of that juicy specificity yet mystery, right? You know the specificity of before bed. You know the specificity of vanilla, but you don't know what it is or how to do it or how to actually get that end benefit of best sleep ever. Again, they're working with limited space, but assuming we have more space, best sleep ever, you know, like it's okay. But it also at the same time doesn't mean too much because best as a superlative term lacks that specificity. So if we had more space here, we would be teasing out, what does that mean? Best sleep ever. How many hours? How long? How much REM sleep? What's so great about best sleep ever? You know, you wake up with energy, you are able to accomplish more. Obviously, there's so many benefits of the benefit for best sleep ever, and that's something you would want to think about if you were to develop this little nugget. One thing I want to note is that the last few examples of these are great, like subject line for emails type stuff, right? Just reheat food this way to /tiredness and your diabetes risk. Really good potential email subject line there. And the snore ender before bed vanilla tip for your best sleep ever. Like, if you do anything related to sleep, I mean, that is probably just a full-on swipe it, take it, and go off to the races type of email subject line. I'm just like making sure I'm keeping everything in frame on the camera here. Okay, let's see. Let's do this next corner. Sales alert with the dollar signs. Bonus savings to grab right now. Meh, you know, it's kind of some filler there. Extra $3,000 backyard tip that pays you. So we love the specificity of $3,000. Backyard, specific yet mysterious. It makes you wonder what it is. So you got to purchase the magazine, get into the magazine and go figure that out, which I will give you guys the payoff. And I will show you like what these things actually are. And I don't know yet. I haven't looked. We're looking at this at the first time together. And I will bridge the gap on how they fulfill on what they promise on the cover. They're going to give us how they actually like do that within the magazine itself. But first, let's just check if there's anything else interesting to look at here. I believe we only have this section left. Kitchen Cure, the anti-fungus tip that Italian women rely on for beautiful toenails. So again, they're taking the foreign and bringing it over to us domestically here in the States, right? The anti-fungus tip that Italian women rely on for beautiful toenails. And Kitchen Cure suggests that it's natural, and it suggests that it's something you already have. We might not be able to use the word cure in many places, but I believe that's an easy swap. Like you could call it kitchen hack, kitchen secret, the anti-fungus tip that Italian women rely on for beautiful toenails. Pretty sure with kitchen hack, again, I'm no attorney, but you have a fairly compliant headline right there. If you just change the word to kitchen hack, the anti-fungus tip that Italian women rely on for beautiful toenails. Another reason that this is fairly compliant, minus the word cure, is they're not saying it gets rid of fungus. So you want, from a compliance standpoint, you want your copy to support, maintain, be something they rely on for this good result. Like all of that is more fair game from a compliance standpoint, and that's what they're doing here. Beautiful toenails. Like that's such an interesting, like two big words to see on the cover of a magazine, isn't it? But again, they at Women's World, like they know their audience, and so they know their women want beautiful toenails. I mean, who doesn't? And then we'll come to this next part. A quick 2 minutes of this does it. No more spider veins. So here we get a little bit more gray compliance-wise because they're suggesting that the spider veins will go away. But you could translate that to supporting or maintaining clear skin without the appearance of spider veins. But again, they're giving you immediacy. That's something they're always using, right? 2 minutes of this, and they do, I don't know if you could see it well, but they use the italicized word this. They did it twice, right? Just reheat food this way. So you kind of emphasize it, and that secretive part, you know, sticks with us. A quick 2 minutes of this does it. No more spider veins. And then cheesecake bliss with some pictures of cheesecake on it. I would love to see, and if this is a video you guys like definitely let me know in the comments. I know like many people are not watching right now. I could see in the analytics, but hopefully people go on to watch it. And if you like it, I will keep doing these. Like I'd be happy to look at the covers of these, you know, fairly often with you guys. Because one thing I'm curious about is, do they have pictures of food often? If I had to guess, I would guess yes, because pictures of food are probably appealing in general and specifically to their demographic. So they have your pictures of cheesecake here. And I think the only area I haven't looked at yet is our friend Missy Gillenwater over here saying, I got off Pepsid and out of plus sizes. She lost 114 pounds. So there's that blending of the antacid and losing weight. And I talked about how, instead of saying 30 pounds in 14 days from a compliance standpoint, you may be able to get away with like dress sizes more. And so that's exactly what they did here. And I love that. And out of plus sizes. Really good little line, little dimensionalized benefit right there. And we got our picture of Missy Gillen Water. So what I will quickly do now before I conclude my presentation for you guys is check how they fulfill on some of this stuff, right? How close do they get to delivering on the information they promise? How much of this is hype versus like not getting that grade of information inside? Let's just see. So we come through, we sort of have our table of contents right here. A bunch of stuff that is not what they talked about on the front cover just yet. Welcoming joy, gardening bliss, some cute little stories, relax and have fun, cooking, music news, not much about what they said on the cover just yet. Some new books, crafts. A story about a lady, she helps heal hearts with art. So inspiring, uplifting type story there. You Beautiful with straight from the garden pics. So these are natural things to help boost beauty, let's say. So we got minimize pores with honeysuckle. So notice that what's interesting to me here is what didn't make the cover. So our one that fulfills on the cover is going to be right here. I see shrink veins with witch hazel. So that's how, let's see, a quick 2 minutes of this. So a quick 2 minutes of witch hazel does it. So I'll quickly read it to you so you can see how they fulfill on the promise. Shrink veins with witch hazel. The medicinal plant has astringent and anti-inflammatory agents that constrict swollen veins on contact, promoting healthy blood flow to prevent the pooling that causes veins to bulge. That writing is not so bad, but it's funny to me how it's much clunkier than what you get on the cover, right? And then they say, try it. Bring 1 tablespoon of witch hazel bark and 1 cup of water to a boil. Simmer for 20 minutes. Let's drain and let cool. Use a cotton pad to dab liquid on veins twice daily. So it's funny how they say like 2 minutes on the cover and you get all these sort of different time frames here. But the disconnect isn't that large because when you're swabbing it on, it just takes seconds, right? But that's an interesting, not full on bait and switch, but a little bit of a bait and switch there. And then we have the stuff, other beauty tips that did not make the cover, which, take it for what it is. Just facts, like they didn't make the cover and they determined that at least in this issue, and they're pumping out stuff, I think, every week. So it could be that next week they put shrink pores on the cover. That's why it would be a good thing to keep track, right? Because the recurring stuff that you see on the cover is going to be stuff that their audience gobbles up because they keep doing it. And it's no surprise that one of those big things is going to be fat loss and weight loss. You're going to see that damn near every time on the cover, okay? But some things in this article that did not make the cover: shrinking pores, breakage and fallout of the hair, soothing rashes, and depuffing the face. So these are literal like categories of beauty that I would take note of and that I would look out for and see if they make a cover in the future. And I would see if veins keeps making its way to the cover, because that would indicate that the market wants it and there's opportunity there. All right, let's see what else. Healthy, happy, and feeling great at any age. Nix energy sapping blood sugar swings. So it looks like this article is going to fulfill on the promise of slashing afternoon tiredness. So let's see how well they do that. They basically give you tips like have a healthy breakfast, be the queen of reheating. Okay, so this is our reheating promise. All right, just reheat food this way. So let's see what they say about that. Be the queen of reheating. White bread is a top blood sugar offender since its starchy carbs break down into glucose that flows into the bloodstream. Luckily, say British scientists, again, that's where the UK news comes from. British scientists, freezing fresh bread and thawing it before eating cuts blood sugar spikes by 43%. Cooling and reheating bread transforms its starch into resistant starch, which doesn't send blood sugar soaring. And reheating previously cooked rice and potatoes delivers the same perks. Also smart, using stale bread to make breadcrumbs or French toast. Australian scientists say stale bread is 200% higher in resistant starch than fresh. That's like, there's a mechanism there. Like, there's some good mechanism stuff that you could borrow for the research or whatever and, you know, try to use it for your own purposes. Another interesting thing is the way they say British scientists, Australian scientists. So if you have a study, like wherever that study was from, you could translate that to blank scientists, right? No matter where the study is. But a lot of decent mechanism stuff. Like they do a good job of, in a fairly simple and easy to understand way, explaining mechanisms and why things work and why things deliver a certain outcome. Like we've gone through 4 or 5 that you could just develop, like research further and then potentially use for your own purposes. So let's see, that was the reheating stuff. And notice, so like let's assume that they had this article, which we'll call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 tips for nixing energy sapping blood sugar swings. Okay, instead of saying on the cover 4 tips for like slashing afternoon tiredness and diabetes risk, they chose what they thought to be the juiciest or most interesting one. They did not say 4 tips. They spoke only about reheating food this way. Okay, so that's something you could do at any time. Instead of saying 4 tips, 4 ways, like my grandma has 4 ways, right? Like, what's the juiciest one? Tease me with that. And then when I get into the meat, you could give me all 4 ways. It just feels like extra value at that point. So that's something that they did here. Then we get to no more yucky toenails, okay? And here's a stat, but for 52% of women over 60, so are embarrassing, yellowed, warped, and or brittle toenails caused by fungal infections. So again, they know their market. They know their market likely struggles with not beautiful toenails. So again, what did they say? The kitchen cure anti-fungus tip that Italian women rely on. So similarly, they have 3 tips, but they just picked one, right? So, and we talked about how these are great for subject lines. So instead of, for your subject lines, 3 tips for yellow toes, tease the biggest, juiciest one. They could open the email and get all 3, and they feel like they've gotten even more value out of it, right? So their actual 3 tips for no more yucky toenails are using garlic, and I'm wondering which one is the Italian one. I'm skimming. I don't see it. Oh, okay. So Italian is the Mediterranean one. So here's how they talk about it. Women in Mediterranean countries have long known that garlic kills off toenail fungus, and now a study in the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology proves the folk cure works. Folk cure. That is a really interesting little phrase that I would definitely like put in my journal, in my notes, or just kind of keep handy with me, because it does all the things, you know. It suggests that it's sort of age old and timeless. It's mysterious, and yet with folk, like, you don't really know if it works or not, like folklore, right? Like an old wives' tale. But it raises that curiosity and you want to know more about it. And I would caution any copywriter here from using the word cure pretty much ever, But again, you could swap cure out for a bunch of other stuff, right? Like folk, hack, folk, remedy, folk, solution. So really like use the word folk there. That is definitely something that you can take. Also, notice this. Oops, sorry, my screen is dimming. Okay. The actual study came from the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology, but what did they boost? Like the Italian thing, right? Again, because of that like foreign nature, like it's just removed from you, which makes it more mysterious and they hope more desirable for their people to learn, right? So instead of saying Americans did it, they decided to go the route of saying the Italians did it. And so, one thing, I want to judge the payoff, right? The antifungus tip that Italian women rely on for beautiful toenails. And then they tell you, here's how they tell you to do it. To do, rub a fresh garlic slice around and under the toenails daily. Rinse after 1 hour. I mean, I think the payoff is there. Like, I don't consider that a bait and switch. I think they did it. And so they just, to my knowledge, want to sell magazine covers, right? And you might want to sell an antifungal supplement. So a way that you could do this, a way that you could take this helpful hack, right, of rubbing the fresh garlic slice, you can teach your audience this. And then you can say, for those who want more dramatic results faster, a lot of women are loving our antifungal supplement that comes with this guarantee. See before and afters right here. Go check it out, right? So that's how you provide the value and still sell your product at the same time. And realistically, like, are women gonna rub garlic on their toes every single day? You know, I mean, and that might be an opportunity where you say, here's the problem with this though, right? Like, this is great, but here's the problem. Are you really going to rub garlic around your toes every day? Or how about you just add this supplement to your daily stack and it's even more powerful? Go ahead and get it, right? And plus, like, garlic's not necessarily cheap. So you could make a point that for the same cost as your daily garlic rub, you can get our supplement perhaps. And then they give you a few other tips for dealing with the yellow toenails. Okay, let's move on. We got relief from constipation. That didn't make the cover. Quick as a whiff health cures. And this is about sniffing stuff. So it's interesting to me that this did not make the cover because I feel like there's a lot of potential appeal here. Like, what? I could just smell stuff and get these outcomes and these results that I want. So this is an article I would look through to find more mechanisms for whatever products that I need. And they even have here the scent that melts pounds. To me, that could have made it on the cover as well. But, you know, they have limited space, right? All right, let's see if anything else. 100% healthy in minutes. That's bold, right? That is bold. But I'm looking for stuff that fulfills on what they said in the headline. Okay, I will conclude with looking at this article because this is the Mac Daddy, the Centerfold. Hi, Glenn Dawson. Smelling stuff to get results is the lowest invest for results I've ever heard. Yeah, seriously. I know, I'm kind of shocked it didn't make the cover. I don't know why, but that's something where I would keep looking at future covers and see if, like, it ever makes it in. Because, I mean, my God, I could just smell stuff, lose weight. Why didn't anybody tell me, right? Okay. The antacid secret to easy fat loss. So they repeat exactly what was on the cover here, so that is highly congruent. And so it's like, if you purchase this magazine for that, here it is. They even repeat the image of the guy, and it is smack dab in the center of the magazine, I'm pretty sure. It's close. It's one page away from the center, so literal centerfold. Dr. Perlmutter reveals everyday foods that mimic the weight loss drug Ozempic, helping to speed off up to 30 pounds in 14 days. Okay, and they have the very important asterisk. So let's see how Women's World manages this very bold health claim. The asterisk says, Based on individuals, results vary. Dr. Perlmutter's emphasis is steady, sustainable progress. As always, get your doctor's okay to try any new dietary strategy. So, are most people going to read the disclaimer and the asterisk down at the bottom? I'm not sure. I think a decent percentage is, but copywriters, I'm sure, are more likely to do that. But it is funny how in the disclaimer, it basically negates, and I'm sure they have to do this, like legally, or else they wouldn't. But they use the asterisk to quite literally negate the big speed up. But really, he emphasizes steady, sustainable progress. So just kind of funny, right? And so this pretty much repeats what we see on the cover. Again, really maintaining that congruency from the cover over to the actual article. And they talk about, most of us have heard buzz about new drugs that make spare pounds disappear like magic. But what about the millions of us who can't get or just don't want Ozempic? We've got reason to buzz too, because Dr. David Perlmutter, MD, is here to help us score prescription strength results using nothing but everyday foods. Turns out Ozempic works its magic in part by lowering levels of uric acid, and we can get the same powerful effect by tweaking what we eat, he insists. So we see that decrease in uric acid as the mechanism for weight loss, which I don't know, if that's common in our industry and the internet, the ClickBank offers you see on weight loss. I don't know how often uric acid is a mechanism there. Like a full-on health writer might have seen it 100 times or maybe not. But what they're also doing with this mechanism is they're saying, this is why Ozempic works. You can get the same thing without Ozempic. And so what you could potentially do is one, just go ahead and swipe that. Two, find other reasons why Ozempic works and then say, here's the natural way you can do the same thing, or with the supplement or whatever it is you're writing copy for, right? So that would be a great prompt. Again, tell me everything behind why Ozempic works. Okay, those are all mechanisms that you can test, use what's relevant to you, et cetera, and swap Ozempic with whatever the hot thing is at the time. Ozempic is hot today, and 6 months from now, something else will likely be hot. And so you would ask yourself, okay, why does blank hot thing work? Okay, that's similar to how my product works, and you draw the whole parallel across the way, okay? So they talk more about this, uric acid mechanism. All of us make uric acid. It's a waste product created as we digest things like sugar, meat, and alcohol, explains Dr. Perlmutter. The trouble is that modern diets cause us to make so much of the acid, we often can't eliminate it fast enough. The caustic stuff builds up, causing damage from head to toe. Science journals are bursting with evidence that it's a root of many serious health conditions, including diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, and dementia. The doc adds that high uric acid is essentially an ancient signal to the body that winter is coming. It prompts us to begin storing and hoarding fat to prevent starvation. Okay, so something I want to note about this. They talk about all the other bad things buildup of uric acid does, right? Diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, and dementia. But they don't talk about that anywhere else. They don't mention that on the cover. They don't mention it in the headline because they know it's not the biggest, juiciest thing. People, they just want the vanity result. It's just human nature. And all of the, you might say, more impactful benefits, no dementia, sign me up. That sounds pretty important. But that plays second fiddle to losing weight. Okay. But so often what I'll see copywriters do, in the lead, in the headline, is try to say everything, right? Lose weight and decrease chance of dementia with this one thing. And you might think that makes your product more appealing, but it actually more often than not will lower the potency, okay? Because you're distributing benefits instead of just hammering the big vanity benefit that people really want. Okay, so they did a decent job. Like, again, a lot of mechanism work here, right? Because they're saying how a buildup, this is like the mechanism of the problem, right? How a buildup of uric acid leads to the body holding on to excess fat. So there's a lot of stealable, swipeable stuff in there. And I want to see where they pay us off and teach us the everyday foods. So I'm just going to skim a little bit to find out what those foods are. Okay, here we go. Foods that work like an RX. What a great, delicious little sub-headline there. Again, compliance-wise, like comparing yourself to prescription drugs is, let's say choppy waters, but God, it's so good. Like glean your inspiration and tweak it as you see fit for foods that work like an RX. Okay. Dr. Perlmutter suggests frequently enjoying options that lower uric acid like natural pharmaceuticals, such as upgraded salad. Leafy greens are great, but also be generous with broccoli and broccoli sprouts, suggests the doc. They're a top source of compounds that help prevent uric acid from forming in the first place. Other amazing salad add-ins, red onion, squash, and celery. Studies clearly show that these and other colorful vegetables help bring down uric acid. Okay, sweeter tea. For a potent drink, mix an icy glass of acid-lowering superstars, green tea and lemon. You can even add the sweetener allulose, which won't raise acid, and per Dr. Perlmutter, is proven to help mimic Ozempic. Wow. Okay. Powerful claims there, right? Slimming barbecue, grill up low purine chicken with a spice rub made from acid-lowering garlic powder, ginger, and turmeric. You get huge flavor, and new university research shows turmeric's antioxidants spike fat burn by up to 560%. One thing I wish that they did, and again, I don't know anybody who works there, so I don't know why they don't. Like, they don't always say the source. It might be because it might not seem like the most credentialized source, because the vagueness of new university research, I just feel like that would be so much more powerful if we had more specificity in where that came from, especially with an insane claim like spike fat burn by up to 560%. I also don't know what spiking fat burn by up to 560% actually means, but I understand how if I wasn't wearing a copywriter hat and I was in my human skin, I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I want that. Without even like fully knowing what it means. Okay. And then they talk about cherries and how great cherries are. And then they share Missy Gillen Waters' experience with losing 114 pounds so far by naturally reducing her uric acid levels. So similar to the toe fungus, you get the natural solutions to achieve this outcome, right? And I would say the payoff is pretty decently there. It's not a really bad bait and switch. They say they're going to tell you the everyday foods that do it. You get to the article and they do tell you the everyday foods that do it. But if you're selling something else, right, and not just the information, how can you do something similar? Well, you would share all these foods and you would say, but what's the problem, right? But here's the problem, ... One of my favorite, my copy cubs know this, one of my favorite little interjection lines in sales copy. But here's the problem. It's going to grab so much attention, right? Because you've just said, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, literally, right? All this stuff is so great, but here's the problem. Like, these dietary changes are something you have to stick to. If you say you upgrade your salad, but you're still having dessert or whatever, it's going to cancel out these effects. Instead of worrying about all of that, make sure you boost it with our supplement or with our protocol or with whatever else we teach, right? So all throughout this issue, you can take the information that they teach, share it, and then say, but here's the problem. You also need something else, right? And I think I'm going to leave it there because that is the Big Daddy article that they promised on the cover. And if you wanted to see the cheesecakes, here they are. I mean, it's sort of hilarious that they teach about all these foods to lower your uric acid, and then they simultaneously give you these cheesecake recipes, which I am certain, like heavy cream, sugar, more heavy cream, sugar. You know, I would suspect that some of the ingredients in here go ahead and fuck up your uric acid. So that's kind of funny, right? More recipes. Okay, so I will hold up the cover for you guys one last time. If you want to take a screenshot. Ender, blank Ender. Loved that. Oh, let's look for the money one because they did an extra $3,000 backyard tip that pays you. So let's see what that tip is because I want to know. I want to get all the payoffs here. So I'm going through the recipes, how to build your own she shed. That's cute. Look at that. Best ever picnic tricks discovered. I mean, you can kind of realize why that didn't make the cover, right? But they've got other fluffy stuff in here. Go ahead, subscribe to Women's World. Here we go. Easy money. I earn up to $3,000 a month hosting dogs in my yard. Okay, that's not what I expected it was going to be. When they said backyard, it made me think yard sales. And I would almost want them to say not yard sales, right? Give me a little tease of what it's not. Because, again, that's the perfect specificity plus mystery blend. When you say what it's not, you're getting more specific, but you're also adding more mystery because I don't know what it is. But it's hosting dogs in my yard. Diane Neffendorf found the perfect way to profit from her pastures. Here's how she does it. And I'll get to, I posted about the space in a local community on Facebook and was floored to receive over 250 responses. That is awesome. You know what's funny is she could earn $3,000 a month hosting dogs in her yard. And if she were to sell a product teaching other people how to host dogs in her yard, she could make like 5-6 figures a month selling that. I want you guys to remember that for any way you make money too, right? You can make money the way you make it, and you can make a shit ton more by telling other people how you made that money, just so you guys know. Okay, cool. So that is the payoff there. I mean, you fully got the payoff. They did give it to you. And with something like this, if you were selling like an information product or a coaching program on how to make money, like you can tell them. You tell, here's how we did it. And if you want the step-by-step training, if you want the templates that you use to go ahead and post, you know, some sort of done for you element, some sort of ongoing accountability, some sort of challenge, you could give them all the information and then sell them that other stuff. Sweet. So that was, Lord, we're going on 50 minutes. Time flies when we talk copy, don't we? So here was our analysis of Women's World Magazine, June 5th, 2023. This is fresh off the press. Today is June 6th. Guys, if you enjoyed this, I need to know, or else I'm not going to do another one. You know, if you don't enjoy it, why do it? So feel free. Any questions, any comments, any of your thoughts, anything that you're going to take and implement. Yeah, thanks for watching. Enjoyed hanging out. Thank you, Glenn. You are my boy. I want to know how Reset You helps uric acid levels, because I'm certain that it does. Thank you. I'm going to end the live, and I'll be around on the internet. Bye.